In today's video, we are going to be breaking down Roko, who is a very good basketball player from Europe, who is in this year's NBA draft. He is a very electrifying player who can smash down some amazing dunks, but he can also shoot the ball at an extremely high level as well. So let's get down and let's check him out. So first off, I will be doing a future breakdown once he gets to the NBA. However, right now there is not a ton of close-up clips of him shooting the ball. So here what we see is the ball handler not using that screen that Roko is setting, and then Roko pops off for that three-point shot. Now, when he receives this ball, there's two different ways that I tend to see him shoot the ball. He'll either come to a jump stop, or he will step into his shot, as we see right here. Now, either way is a good way to shoot. However, when you step into your shot, it allows you to get your right side, in this case, your right side of your body, in line to be able to shoot that ball. Now, when he steps into it, we see that he is slightly onto his toes with his left foot. However, when he does go up for his shot, his right foot is up onto his toes. This will allow him to get up into his shot much faster. Now, when he steps into his shot as well, we see that he does a slight dip from above his waist to below his waist, and then he goes up into his shot, up into his set point. Now, why is this important? Well, the reason why this is important is because now some players will find that a dip will allow them to have a more inline shot or a more consistent shot, mainly because it gets their right side in line a little bit better, but also it's like a backswing on a golf swing. It's just a lot better sometimes for players. So essentially, if you're struggling with your consistency, try a dip. It might help you. But here we see when he goes into his shot that his shoulders are actually in line with his knees and in line with his toes. He has a very balanced shot. When he goes up for his shot, he is pretty well square towards the basket, and we see that his knees slightly come together as well. Now, when he accelerates up into his shot, he has what's called a two-motion shot, where he actually holds the set point for a second. This means that he's got usually a lot of upper body strength, and by having a one-motion shot would be way too strong for him. So two-motion allows him to take some power off of his shot, and sometimes will help you with consistency as well. However, the energy transfer is very good. He actually straightens his knees at the same time as leaving the ground, which will allow for a very good energy transfer up into his shot. However, something I do notice is that his hand is slightly sideways on that ball before he releases. So what that tells me is that he's pushing the ball into his guide hand slightly before going up into his shot. Does that affect his shot? Not really, because as we can see from his left hand, his palm is facing the rim, so he has a slight thumb flick very similar to a Kyrie Irving or a Steph Curry. However, their hands are not sideways on that ball as we see in this frame right here. We can also see that he has a 45-degree angle onto his elbow, which will allow him for more power, but if he was to have closer to a 90-degree, it would be a faster shot. So just something to keep in mind for yourself, but for him, considering that he shoots well above 35% in most games, I'm not too worried about that. We can also see that his right shoulder and elbow are in line with the basketball net. That's part of the shooting triangle. And we can see from this angle that when he goes into his jump stop, into a two-footed landing, what we do see is he still dips that ball and goes up into his set point. When he goes up to his set point, the ball travels the right side of his body, and then when he goes up into his shot, we can see that that ball is roughly right in the middle of his forehead when he goes up for that shot. Now he has a nice release with a nice flick that looks to be a hard release, and we see that his elbow is above his forehead. Now, what does this mean? Well, a hard release is when your wrist is the one that is bent the most without it being slightly curved with your hand. His hand is pretty well flat, and then his wrist is, of course, bent, which means that it's a hard release, which means that there's more backspin on that basketball. And then we see that the elbow is above his forehead, which, of course, helps with arc. So even though he doesn't have a soft release, he's going to get the arc with his elbow being above his forehead, and then he's going to get the backspin on the ball so it hits the rim softer with that hard release. Now, does he jump forward with his shot? He does slightly, by about a foot. Is that really a big difference or a big concern? No, that is roughly where you tend to jump, is within a foot. You don't want to have a massive, like, wide open spread leg kind of landing. That is hard to mimic every single time you shoot, so of course this is a much easier way to shoot. Now, when he starts shooting from farther away, as we see here, he does tend to kick his legs forward a lot more. That does get more power onto the ball. However, I'm not too sure if that will translate into the NBA very well, considering that is more closer to the NBA line there. This is the FIBA line, which there's a couple of inches difference. However, at the same point in time, he'll get used to the three-point line. As we can see here, he's able to shoot that shot still, and it's only a couple of inches, so that should really only take maybe a few weeks to really get used to, unless your name is Matt Thomas, then it might not. But anyways, that is the breakdown of Roko's shot. If you have enjoyed today's video, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.